Hi, Sharon. It's so great to see you here today and have this conversation. I would love to have you share more about your experience. So, why don't you tell us what you do, what your business is about, who you help, and how you got here?
Sure, sure. I have a parenting program for parents of children with trauma histories. So almost all foster and adoptive parents, occasionally a biological parent whose child's had trauma. For the most part, parents whose children have experienced early childhood trauma, foster and adoptive parents. I also have a graduate program for parents and children once the parents lay the foundation. And so really am helping parents learn how to change their perspective so they can change the dynamics of their relationship. So helping educate them about how early childhood trauma affects their children, why they do the things they do that are so nerve-wracking at times, why they are struggling to trust their parents, and then helping the parents learn to have a lens of empathy, learn to see through a trauma informed perspective, and then learning to show up in a trauma responsive way to meet their child where they are. So that's the program, and it's currently a 6-month program.
Yes. Well, I love your offer so much. It's sacred work, it's of massive impact, and it comes from your story too. So, tell us a bit more about how you got here. Why did you build this business?
Sure, sure. So we have 6 biological children. I went on a missions trip to Ukraine in 2004, and we were gonna go do a summer camp. So the ladies I went with were, excited and wanted to adopt, and I said, "I don't want to adopt, I have 6 kids." And my heart was broken for the orphans. We were there for 4 days, the first trip when we went to kinda get a lay of the land, and we went to a dozen orphanages, hospital for abandoned babies, boys' prison, which was like these little 8-year-olds who had been caught out on the streets sniffing glue. And so, I felt compelled. I felt like I have to do something. Everywhere I would go, they would introduce me as a mom of 6 kids. And I was at the hospital for abandoned babies holding a little baby. And the doctor said to me, "Oh, mom of 6, you have room for one more." And so felt compelled, like you feel like I can't go home and do what I've been doing, right? I have to do something different. I can't have seen what I've seen and go back to living my life the way I've been living it. So we felt like, hey, we know how to love kids and we have a home and we can bring them into a family with zero understanding of trauma. This was 20 years ago when we adopted for the first time. And so realized, really early on that we were in trouble, but kept thinking this is orphanage behavior, not realizing it was rooted in trauma and that things got worse rather than better. So went on a journey of looking for help and then started to understand, over time what we were dealing with. So our daughter was out of home and different placements throughout the years because it was just taking such a toll on the family and we didn't know, how to help her. And so sent her to get help while the rest of us tried to heal. And anyways, through all of that, ended up feeling called to do therapeutic respite. So we opened a therapeutic respite home in 2012 and started bringing kids. We sold our home in the suburbs, bought a farm and a large house, and started bringing kids in who were struggling in their adoptive homes. And we're helping them learn how to trust, help the walls come down, how to have healthy, safe, reciprocal relationships and build healthy attachments. And then also coaching their parents on how to have a different perspective, how to have a different approach. Did that until 2019. So during that time, we served almost 100 clients who lived with
Wow.
us. Mostly long term, mostly 9 to 18 months. We did have some that were true respite clients that came for weekends. We had one therapist that liked to recommend kids to come for a weekend. We had some parents who wanted to go on vacation and actually relax, so their kids came for a week or 2, but most of our clients were 9 to 18 months and then would work with the parents, and then we would do a slow reintegration back home. So we closed in 2019. And prior to that, I had said to the therapist that worked with our clients, hey, we should create a parenting curriculum because we're working with parents on the same things over and over. So we started writing a book after I closed Respite together. And then she got really busy and I kept writing and eventually said, can I turn this into a parenting program? So that's what I did. I turned it into the program that I have now, Calming the Chaos, and then went on to create a parent-child program based on the work I did with the kids as well.
Your work is phenomenal. I'm always so inspired by your stories and how you created your program and all the experience you had as well as a parent, as someone also having those kids come to your house and be with you for a long time. You saw it all. You helped more than 100. You also adopted more kids. This is what I call walking the path, right? You definitely walked your walk, and now it's time for you to help other people. But you never felt like in the beginning of your process, like when we started working together a long time ago, I remember you felt very insecure about being the expert, helping people in this situation, right? Helping the kids and helping the parents. And it was amazing to hear from you a couple of weeks ago that you have a massive certainty about you and your ability to support them. Because now,
Yeah.
how many clients have you had so far in your program?
I would say close to 200. I think it's
Wow.
in the 180s at this point. Yeah.
200 families. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is because you're right. When I started out, I felt like I knew how to work with the kids and I had worked with the parents, but because the model was different, I got to know their kids first, right? And so they were with me and I was living with them. And so I got to know the kids first so that I could tell the parents, this is what your child needs. And so changing the model up, which I felt like was essential because they weren't going to be coming to live with me, right? So parents have them in their home. So it's like you have to do the work. I have to work with you and help you learn how to lay that foundation. We can't expect the child to change first, right? Because they're in your home and this dynamic that's problematic keeps going on. So we've got to disrupt that cycle and the parents have to be the ones to do that because they're the adults. But yes, I had a lot of insecurity about working with the parents and kind of what am I going to tell them? And even though, again, we were telling parents the same things, I felt like I didn't have that interaction with their children to be able to make it more specific, but really understanding that across the board, parents are struggling with pretty much the same things because their children are struggling with pretty much the same things. Sense of worth, right? Because my mom, for whatever reason, didn't keep them, couldn't keep them. And so, there's just things across the board they're all struggling with. And then consequently, the parents are struggling with how do you show up when you keep getting pushed away and rejected by a hurt kid who wants to get close but is scared to get close. So, yes, I do definitely now have the proof that the program is helping lots of people and definitely have the sense of security and surety that, yes, it's a program that is changing lives for sure.
It is changing lives and you're helping them truly because now you have evidence. So, what was your, well, I was going to say your most successful story, but it's not even about success. It's about what is a story that inspired you the most?
There's been a lot. I actually worked with a bio mom who called me, and she was in an abusive marriage. And so her son was born into a domestic violence situation. Mom was a social worker. And so she knew, but she was stuck in this relationship herself. And so she and the dad had split, but her son was a teenager when she came to me, and he was being violent with her, right? He was repeating the cycle of what he had seen and she was really struggling at her wit's end. It was a dangerous situation because he was big and he had said to her, because this is what often happens, we start trying to find help for our child, right? Because they have all these acting out behaviors. So we run them to this therapist and this psychiatrist and this psychologist. And it's not to say they don't need therapy, right? They don't need even sometimes medication. But he said to her, you keep trying to fix me. Why don't you fix yourself? Because of her own experience with the domestic violence, her nervous system would get so, she would go into fight, flight, freeze herself when this would happen, of course. And so helping her learn how to show up as the calming presence in the home. We talk a lot about be the thermostat, not the thermometer, like set the emotional tone in your home. Don't allow your child to set the emotional tone. And then you just jump on that roller coaster with them and go for that emotional ride. And so her learning how to not react, right? How to, when he started to escalate, how to become that calming presence in their home, put an end to that physical aggression. And so that to me is an extremely powerful story. And, the people that I work with who are therapists, psychologists, social workers, special educators who really beat themselves up because they're like, I should know how to do this, right? This is what my training is. And I am trained in this. And yet they're struggling with their own child. And so early on, I hesitated to help those people because I was kind of like, I'm a coach, they're a therapist, whatever. And just understanding now that when they're reaching out to me, it's because what they're doing isn't working, right? You can have all the knowledge. You need help with the implementation piece. You need help with someone, an outside person being able to help bring that perspective and see the whole situation. And I just have, I've had the privilege of living with almost 100 of these kids that are struggling, right? And I say kids anywhere from 5 to 27 years old was our range of age with our program. So, and just really having the privilege of them opening up to me and sharing what they're feeling and thinking. So having kind of that insider view to be able to share with the parents that, hey, this is what's really going on. I know this is what they're saying. I hate you. I wish you had never adopted me. I want a new mom, right? But this is what they really are thinking and feeling, and this is where this is coming from.
That's why we all need help. We all need coaches. We
Mhm.
all need experts. We all need therapists, advisors, people that can be watching you play your game or do the thing to help you fix it. Because when you're in the game, it's very hard to
Yes.
change anything.
Yes.
So you are a safe haven for them too, right? For the experts in the industry, in your niche.
Yes.
Amazing. So last year, you came into the CEO advisory and you had one very specific need. That was to step into your CEO identity. Right? I
Yes.
remember that
Absolutely.
because I think that what happens with a lot of people like you, people with the expertise, they come up with a business, they come up with a solution to the problems, but serving clients is very different than running a business. And
Hmm.
then when you're running a business, there are many other complicators, right? Things that you weren't necessarily trained to do, such as, tracking your numbers or selling, doing marketing,
Right.
posting. You can be a great servant, you can be a great service provider, you can do amazing things for people. But when you make that decision, you also become a business owner. And
That's
then
right.
from business owner, you become the CEO of your business. So, can you tell us a little bit more about that moment? I remember exactly what I posted when you reached out to me. You're
Yeah.
like, I think my post was, do you have a job or do you have a business? Or you're an employee of your business or are you the
Right.
CEO?
Or will you hire yourself as a
That was it. Yeah. Would you hire yourself as the CEO of your business? And then when you saw that post, you reached out to me. You're like, no,
CEO?
I would not.
They're absolutely not. Yeah. Yeah. When I first started the business, you're right. I was able to embrace, and I already was coaching, but I went on to get more coaching training and even sales training, that I got some sales training. But there was a disconnect between me being a coach and I remember saying, "I just wanna coach people, like, I don't wanna do this other stuff," and my husband had helped me in the beginning get the business set up and do the technical end of the business, so for a while there, I didn't feel like the business owner. I felt like I was just the coach, right? Because he was getting all those things set up, and he has a full-time job, so, I mean, eventually, he was like, "I need to get out of this business," right? And so he got the things rolling, but yes, making that in my mind going from, because it was a resistance, like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to have to do this. I'm not a business person, I was a stay-at-home mom, like, I was in real estate briefly, but it was like I just did not see myself in any way as a CEO, and so working with you, you have helped so much with that. What is your CEO identity, right? Are you working in the business or are you running the business? Like what is your role? What are you doing? What should you not be doing? What should you be delegating? What is your hourly rate, right? Like all of these things that I'm certainly not there yet, but have gotten me thinking in a way. I mean, I now see myself as a CEO, so I'm there. I mean, I'm certainly not like I still don't know if I'd hire myself yet, but I definitely have a whole different perspective of what I'm looking at now, right? As opposed to just this resistance and no, that's not me. And being able to step into this different part of myself, you as the wonderful coach that you are, being able to see in people what they can't see in themselves and being able to call that out in them. So, what was inside of me all along that I just never recognized, knew was there, right? That you have been able to call out in me that, yes, there really was a CEO. And so, helping me identify and realize that. And really the frameworks you use of being so specific again about what is your CEO identity and who do you want to be is so helpful to be able to go through those frameworks and go, okay, I can break it down. Because if you had asked me that question, I would have been like, I have no idea. Right. So to be able to break it all down has been so helpful.
Yes, I love hearing that you see yourself as a CEO now, as a business owner, because that was an identity that you denied. But
Oh,
you're like,
right.
I don't want to be the business owner. I just
That's right.
want to be a coach. I
That's
just want
right.
to serve. And then you're faced with all the business decisions you need to make.
Right.
And then you realize as well that if you kept running your business just as the coach, you wouldn't be able to grow or really
Right.
create the type of freedom that you wanted to have. These are outcomes that are not simplistic whatsoever,
Sure.
but it does start with your identity. It does start with that.
Absolutely.
Because if you didn't believe you could be a successful CEO, you wouldn't be running this business.
Absolutely. And now I have an assistant. So I am an employer. For me to be out here in this business, doing this business, having an employee, being the CEO of this business is so far from where I had ever seen myself for sure.
Yes. Well, and you also made some significant business decisions recently. So I know you have a team member.
Mhm.
One of the things I talk about is to delegate the things that are draining for you
Right.
or things that will take you a lot of time to figure
Yes.
out, such as having a team to handle automations, ads, like the other things, right,
Right.
that the business needs.
Right.
So you did make those decisions as well. And now you have a team of experts coming in. So having contractors like that really helps. So, what are some of the things that you're working on now to grow?
Yeah. So I think the other piece of this is realizing, that businesses are about owning a business is about creating solutions, right? Like addressing problems. And so I was raised in a way that you kind of swept things under the rug and you didn't address them. And you can't do that when you're a business owner, right? Not getting as frustrated when something's not working, not feeling like doom and gloom, like all is lost, realizing that there are going to be issues to solve. You have to solve them head on. So, interacting often with the person who's leading my marketing, heading up my marketing, and talking through those things, really working on getting ahead of, on top of numbers. So, really trying to track because I now have a low ticket offer that is a mini course. And so, trying to track the numbers of how many people that purchase that mini course or booking a call with me, all kinds of numbers that I'm trying to keep track of so that I can see where the adjustments need to be made. Like you said, hiring a team to help with automations has been really important. Adjusting my pricing to try to make different tiers to make it more accessible to more people. Lots of different things that I've been trying to it's almost like whack-a-mole. You solve one problem and then another one comes up, right? And so you have to see it again, not in a way of frustration or kind of wanting to bury your head in the sand and not deal with the problems, but to see it as, I tell my clients challenges are opportunity for growth, right? So, same here. It's like, yes, as a business owner, you're going to have these different problems you have to solve. And you can either become really discouraged and feel like it's not working, or you can figure out how you're going to solve the problem.
Yes. And I remember a couple of months ago, maybe you celebrated on a call, a group call. You celebrated on that call that you weren't feeling affected by the challenges you were going through, that in the past you could completely recognize that you would be having a freak out,
Yes.
and now you just knew it was just part of the game. So
Right.
we're having issues with your funnel, the funnel
Mm.
wasn't working well, and you still knew that there was a solution available to you. And you did come up with a lot of solutions. You came up with a live webinar, you
Yeah.
came up with the low ticket offer,
Yeah.
you got more help. So that
True.
mindset shift and the emotional shift as well was gigantic.
Yes,
Can you,
absolutely.
can you talk a little bit about that too?
Yeah, in the past, because I didn't see myself as a business person, if it was a business problem, even though my husband was trying to back out, I'd be like, help me. And I think now it's like, no, this is my problem to solve, right? And so I'm realizing burying my head in the sand is not going to solve anything. And just realizing this is part of being a business owner. This isn't the sky is falling. This isn't, ebb and flow. And so trying to just get resourceful, like, okay, what can I do? And I have great people in my life who are helping with suggestions and ideas. So those ideas were not mine, but yes, the live. So I've been doing monthly live workshops for about 4 months now, having really good turnouts. I'm getting ready to do another one on Thursday. I'm coming up with different offers and different tiers to try and engage more people. And so I think having to think outside of the box of just Facebook, I think that's where the live webinars are very helpful because I do have a Facebook group of about 4,000 people. So being able to get more involved with them and is also a goal and something I'm working on. But yeah, it has been a huge, it all goes together, right? It's part of seeing myself as the CEO. And so knowing it is my issue, it's my problem to solve. And yeah, I might not know the solution, but I have good resources of people that I definitely can reach out to and say, hey, what can we do here? And so I also have a son who's in the coaching business and who helps me a lot with ideas. But it's really realizing, stepping up and realizing it's my problem to solve. It's not going to get solved and it's not going to go away. And so I have to figure out what to do about it.
Yeah. You took ownership,
Yes, absolutely.
being the owner of your business.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That is awesome. I remember as well, maybe like, I don't know, a few calls ago, a few conversations ago, you were mentioning how you were terrified of numbers and how numbers were your weakest link in the business, that it was very hard for you to track your numbers. And following that as well, your speed in making decisions, in the decision making process, because, well, we all have different styles.
Right.
And one of your strengths is exactly the fact that you have the space, you're very grounded, you're not changing your decisions without really thinking about things. However, sometimes you need to make quicker decisions. You need to be on top of it as a
Right.
business owner. And that was something as well, like a massive shift that I've noticed, that now
Right.
you're making decisions on the spot, that you're
Right.
really well supported, you're
Right.
confident in yourself, you're
Mhm.
also trusting the numbers, you understand the
Right.
numbers are friends, not enemies.
Right. Right.
That allows
Yeah.
you to make decisions faster. So how do you feel about your decision making now? Are you feeling more confident about it?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think as you step into the CEO identity, you understand that you're going to make these decisions and you need to make these decisions and you don't have to live in fear. I mean, sure, you're not always going to make the greatest decision. Sometimes you're going to, you're going to make a decision and look back and go, oh, I wish I had done something different, but it's not the end of the world if you don't make the right decision at the time. And so I think that's the thing. Like, it's not going to be, for the most part, decisions are not going to be this catastrophic end of your business kind of a decision, right? And so I think, like you said, the numbers, you don't really know what decisions to make if you're not keeping up on the numbers. So I am trying to do a much better job of that. I'm not sure what that is in me, that resistance, and I don't even think it's fear of what I'm going to see. I think it's just not making it the priority, really. But again, realizing that that's a way to make decisions is to be able to see what's working and what's not working. So it's an essential part of business, whether you consider yourself a numbers person or not.
Yes, well, the numbers remove the emotion out of the
Yes.
conversation. So when you see the numbers, you know exactly what's going on. And then you can make a decision that will get you to where you want to be. But without the numbers, you're probably guessing. And
Right.
that
Oh,
guess
absolutely.
creates a lot of uncertainty.
Absolutely. And a lot more stress, really.
Yes, yes. So,
Mhm.
during this year and a few months, so what was the biggest takeaway you got from the CEO advisory?
Good question. I really do think it's my CEO identity. It's seeing myself as someone who owns this business, runs this business, and can run a successful business. I think that's really the biggest part.
That was your number one outcome.
Exactly. That's what I wanted. Yeah,
You came
exactly.
in.
Exactly.
Amazing. Did you
Yeah.
gain anything from this experience that you did not expect? Something that wasn't expected, but ended up being a win for you?
I think some of it is, that I have learned things that I will need to utilize in the future as far as how to know when to hire, how to know who to hire, things that I hadn't really considered. And so I think that even though there were parts of it that aren't where I am yet, being able to hear those things and take those things and have been great too, because I think that it does kind of help you. paint that picture for the future and anticipating that, yes, these are the things I will need to know. And so I think that's been a really beneficial piece. And so I think embracing a CEO identity had to happen first in order to be able to get to a place where I go, oh, yeah, I will eventually be in a place where I will need to hire more people. Just lots of helpful information as the business grows, financial things, all kinds of information I've gotten from you, about things that I hadn't really considered because I was in survival mode of how do I get this thing to operate. Still trying to scale it, but definitely better than I was several years ago. So it's scaling more slowly than I would like, but it's definitely, it is scaling. I have to look at the whole picture, just helping also paint that picture for the future and that anticipation for the future of what it can and will look like.
Well, now you do have the identity, so you understand that all the things you've learned as well about growing your business are applicable to you, and now you're prepared. So if you didn't have that identity before, you would just completely deny it, right? You'd be
Exactly.
like, "This is not for me. This doesn't
Right.
apply to me. This is
Right.
not important to me."
Yep.
But you did pay attention to everything, and you did learn a lot of things that you're going to be using very quickly. So you are way more prepared to scale
Yes.
the business right now, for sure. I said,
Absolutely. Yeah, if it had happened before, yeah, and there's no,
yes.
I wouldn't be able to handle it. I mean, I had a period where I got, about 9 clients in a quick period of time. And yes, it really terrified me. So now I do feel much more prepared for, okay, how will I know when to hire people? How will I know who to hire? How will and just having the different contacts and things as well. So yes.
Yeah. Isn't that funny that like you got 9 clients on the same month and that
Mhm.
freaked you out? That
Right.
terrified you because that's
Right.
way outside of your
My
your
comfort.
comfort zone, right? Or your safety
Right.
zone. I call it more
Right.
safety zone because
Yeah.
9 clients is not safe. And one
Right.
of the things you're working on is truly to break through the existing threshold of clients. But it's really important to acknowledge that 9 clients was too much for your safety
Right.
zone. So just to
Right.
understand that the CEO identity is all
Right.
about building safety around success and around growth, and that doesn't happen overnight.
And really, at that time, it was too many because I wasn't set up in a way that it would have not been too many.
Now you're prepared,
Right.
and
Exactly.
you're looking forward to reaching that
Yes.
level again and making that your new thresholds. That would be amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Yes. But Sharon, thank you so much for sharing your story, for telling us what you do, for being an inspiration. It's absolutely extraordinary to work with you. You're definitely on my inspiration board, and the work you do is sacred, is of massive value, massive service. So all you deserve is to grow a lot because money is just a reflection of your service and it's massive. So, if you need anything, you know how to find me.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for everything that you have done for me. And I just am so grateful from, when you first met me, when I first started the business to now, I owe so much of that to you. So thank you.
Oh, you got it. Been what, 4 or 5 years maybe or more?
4 years. It was 4 years
Really?
in April. Yeah. Mhm.
Yes, yes. Well, 4 years is nothing, right? And let's keep celebrating the decades of what.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Maria.
You. Thank you.